The fire does not crackle so much as breathe. Each ember opens and closes like an eye that knows better than to stare. Smoke drifts low, tasting of peat and old rain, and the night gathers close enough to listen. I have carried this story across places that no longer wish to be named. It waits best when the world is quiet. Let me set it down now, before the fire forgets its shape. The village stood where a road once chose to stop, not end, just pause. Stone walls leaned into one another for warmth, and the roofs sagged as if tired of holding the sky apart. No lamps burned there any more, yet moonlight found its way in, slipping through broken slates and window holes like a careful guest. Those who had lived there left in a manner too neat for disaster and too hurried for peace. Doors were closed, not locked. Bowls were rinsed and set upside down. A child's shoe rested beneath a bench, placed rather than lost. Silence had moved in afterwards. It did not arrive all at once. It came in pieces. The absence of morning voices, the lack of smoke, the way the wind learned new routes through empty rooms. One rule remained, passed along by travellers who knew better than to stay long. Do not speak above a murmur. No one remembered who first said it, only that those who ignored it walked faster when they left. 2 questions lingered among the stones. Who was listening now that no one lived there? And what, exactly, had been left behind when the people went? At the village edge, a well stood capped with rotting boards. Rope still hung coiled nearby, its fibres stiff with age. The bucket lay on its side, dry and patient. Moonlight reached down into the well, but did not return anything. Footsteps sounded wrong on the main lane, too loud. Even careful boots seemed to echo, as if the ground were repeating them back after a delay. Windows watched without eyes. The houses were small, built for winters that lasted longer than promises. Inside, tables waited, chairs held their places. Dust lay undisturbed except where mice had traced their thin handwriting. In one room, tally marks were scratched into a beam above the hearth. They stopped suddenly, mid-count. In another, a prayer charm hung crooked, its thread frayed but unbroken. The air felt crowded, not with bodies, with attention. If a traveller paused too long, the stillness leaned closer. Floors creaked without weight. A cough sounded from somewhere that had no lungs to offer it. Once, faint laughter slipped through an alley and vanished before it could mean anything. People said the village listened. Not to words, to intention. Those who passed through learned to keep their thoughts soft. Regret, especially, carried far. The moon rose higher, and shadows shortened, pulling in tight against walls. With less darkness to hide them, the spaces between buildings felt sharper, more aware. Every step seemed to arrive a moment before the traveller did. Doors sometimes opened a finger's width, then closed again, wood sighing as if relieved. No one ever saw what listened, only what reacted. A man came through the village one autumn night, pack-light eyes fixed ahead. He had left a place behind him that would not be spoken of again. He told himself he felt nothing about it, and the village paid attention. His breath fogged in the cold. He kept it slow. At the centre stood a square where a market once gathered. Stalls were gone, but their shadows remained, faint outlines pressed into the dirt. The man crossed it without stopping, boots brushing through leaves that had not been there a moment before. Something shifted nearby. Not movement, readiness. He thought of the door he had closed without turning back. The name he had not said. The silence he had mistaken for peace. The village leaned in. I once stood in that same square, long enough to feel the air grow heavy with remembering. And I knew then what listens best is not sound, but what we refuse to carry with us. The man reached the far end of the lane where the road resumed, narrow and uneven. Relief came too early. He felt it loosen his shoulders, lighten his step. Behind him, a door opened fully. He did not look. A whisper followed, not a voice. A collection of breaths that had never learned to speak together. It said nothing, yet asked everything. The man stepped onto the road and kept going. The moon dipped behind cloud, and the village dimmed, details softening as if being put away. He walked until the stones gave way to earth, until the night air thinned, until his thoughts returned to their usual weight. Only then did he notice something new. The sound of footsteps behind him, measured, careful, matching his pace. He did not turn. The road carried on, but the sound remained, neither closer nor farther. When he stopped, it stopped. When he breathed, it breathed. By dawn, the sound was gone. So was the feeling of having left anything behind. The village still stands, though maps have learned to avoid it. It listens when the moon is high and the wind grows thoughtful. It keeps what is offered without asking for more. The fire here sinks lower, and the night draws its breath around us. Somewhere, empty rooms are paying attention, and roads remember the weight of those who thought they had gone on alone. Some fires are not meant to be left behind.